Iran's nuclear program politicized. Here's Press TV.
Well, it's very simple. The IAEA, as we've noted before, is compromised. Its staff are largely engaged through they answer to the money mafia that backs up US with its kind of never-ending wars, and their whole demeanor and their whole purpose is really to put Iran in the dock. The idea really being that the international community should international community, because of course that just means those nations which support the Western imperialism in that region, that so-called international community should essentially condemn Iran, should be justifying American military action potentially, or assassination actions, or the bombing of Iran, or whatever else it is that the desperation of Israel and America happens to drive them towards over the coming months or years. Of course, the failure of the JCPOA is down to the unilateral withdrawal of the Americans, and their refusal to compromise on fundamental issues, which are essentially going to violate Iranian sovereignty. You know, they don't want to have any missiles in the region. They don't want them to have any foreign policy towards that region which counters their imperialism. They don't want Iran to possess a defense capability. They want to limit Iran's economic capabilities. And of course, the nuclear question and using the IAEA is just one of the many tools that are being employed to really target Iran. You can go through the cultural psyops of the hundreds of anti-Iranian media channels which the Americans finance. You could talk about the coup d'etats they constantly are plotting and planning, or the color revolutions that continuously fail. The assassination of nuclear scientists in Iran is one of the most blatant violations of human rights and every other law that we know of in this regard. Yet the Israelis have received carte blanche for Mossad to go and do as it likes. So what we're seeing is a kind of a full spectrum attack on Iran, not just militarily encircling it with their own nuclear arsenal from these base camps that they've got surrounding Iran, but also through the cultural psyops, the socio-political psyops generally that we see, through sectarianism, through even ethnicity, by trying to rile up Iranian populations against the Iranian government itself. So they leave no stone unturned, and the nuclear question, of course, is their worst nightmare, even though Iran is committed to not having nuclear weapons.
Well, on years now that Iran is a matter of days or weeks or months away from getting a nuclear weapon. 20 years and still no nuclear weapon. And now they're saying 12 days. The fact that, as you said, this is a vitally important issue. We're talking about nuclear weapons. We're talking about the potential annihilation of the planet. And yet these Western countries continue to maintain these falsehoods, to spread them, to demonize Iran, which is the goal, certainly. The United States only wants Israel to have any power in the Middle East. It wants Israel to be the only nuclear power in the Middle East, although why the United States doesn't condemn Israel's nuclear program, and it's known that Israel has nuclear weapons, and yet does condemn Iran's peaceful nuclear program is certainly a mystery. But the international community, as has been mentioned before, should condemn the lies that are coming out of the Western media. The words of the International Atomic Agency, the United Nations branch, should be what is relied on, not rumors, not innuendo, not beliefs that are perpetrated and spoken by U.S. officials. U.S. officials, it's known, the U.S. government has its own agenda. Peace in the world is not on that list. And that has to be kept in mind when anyone is hearing any statements issued by U.S. government officials.
Thank you for that, Robert Fatina, author and journalist. We appreciate it. And thank you, our guest in London, Said Mohsen Abbas. Thank you for your comments.
Annual event.
And
From Press TV, IAEA chief to visit Tehran amid calls for agency's non-political approach. The chief of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, is expected to visit Iran on Friday amid mounting calls for the UN nuclear agency to adopt a non-political approach away from the influence of Western countries. Grossi will touch down in the Iranian capital on Friday and hold meetings with the chief of Iran's nuclear agency, Mohammad Islami, on Saturday, local media reported on Wednesday. Earlier in the day, Islami, who heads the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, the AEOI, told reporters that the much-anticipated visit by the IAEA chief will come in the next 1 or 2 days. This will be Grossi's fourth visit to Iran since assuming office in December 2019 and comes ahead of the IAEA Board of Governors meeting next week. The important visit, which according to Islami can help end the deadlock in talks on the revival of the 2015 nuclear deal, comes after a team of UN nuclear agency inspectors visited Iran recently to discuss and resolve technical issues. The issues were reviewed between the two sides during these talks and were concluded and made clear that there is no specific deviation in Iran's nuclear program, Islami said in his remarks dismissing claims in Western media about Iran ramping up enrichment to 84%. A Reuters report last week claimed that Iran's level of enrichment was very close to weapons grade, pointing to uranium particles enriched up to 83.7%. Last month, Bloomberg reported that IAEA inspectors had come across uranium particles enriched to 84%. Dismissing the bogus claims, AEOI spokesman Behrouz Kamalvandi, in an exclusive interview with Press TV last week, said the IAEA publicizes confidential reports about Iran's nuclear activities in order to prepare the ground for fabrications against the country's peaceful atomic energy program. Dismissing the sweeping claims made in leaked reports, Kamalvandi said Iran has only changed modes of enrichment, not unannounced changes to the Design Information Questionnaire, DIQ, as stated by the IAEA. The inspector came and pointed out that the mode has changed. He was right. The mode has changed, but DIQ had not changed, he said in an interview. Commenting on a Bloomberg report that claimed the IAEA is trying to clarify how Iran accumulated uranium enriched to 84%, Iran's nuclear agency spokesman said finding highly enriched uranium particles in the pipes connecting centrifuges was a normal issue. For example, we're producing 5% enriched uranium, 11% particles is seen in it, or we're producing 20% enriched uranium, 47% particle is seen in it. We had several correspondences about this in the past. It's a natural thing in enrichment, he explained. With the removal of misunderstandings between the IAEA and AEOI in recent meetings, observers expect that the upcoming meeting between Grossi and Islami will prepare the ground for increased cooperation between the two sides. Meanwhile, analysts believe that Grossi's visit should not be influenced by political pressures exerted by Western countries and the Israeli regime. Their concerns go back to June 2022 when Grossi landed in Tel Aviv ahead of an IAEA Board of Governors meeting. That session ended up with a resolution that called on Iran to cooperate with the UN nuclear agency's probe into so-called 3 undeclared sites, which has now emerged as a key sticking point in concluding the marathon talks on salvaging the nuclear deal. The probe, Iranian authorities have repeatedly maintained, is based on forged documents provided to the UN nuclear agency by the Israeli regime. Iran insists that the politically motivated probe must be dropped to reach a deal in Vienna. Stressing its peaceful nature of nuclear activities, Iran has welcomed technical cooperation with the IAEA as it's manifested by its inspectors' regular visits to Iranian facilities, despite the fact that these inspectors are not allowed to inspect nuclear facilities in Israel. IAEA's Grossi to visit Iran on Friday report. The visit comes amid new installed media campaign by Western countries and their allies in the region to claim that Iran has increased the level of enrichment to 80%. Iran has rejected the claims of enrichment up to that level. On Wednesday, the head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, AEOI, rejected accusations that the country is enriching uranium to 84% purity, asserting that there's been no deviation in Iran's peaceful nuclear activities. Yesterday, media reported that UN nuclear watchdog is in discussions with Iran on the origin of uranium particles enriched up to 83.7% purity at its Fordo enrichment plant. In relevant development, also, Behrouz Kamalvandi, the spokesman for the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, AEOI, said in an interview with Mayor correspondent in Tehran last week, it's normal to see 84% atomic particles in an enrichment process. It means that we may produce 5% enriched uranium and see 11% particles, or we may produce 20% but see 37% particles. The AEOI spokesman's remarks were a reaction to the report by Bloomberg a few days earlier that claimed that IAEA had found uranium enriched to 84% in Iran. And from newsroomodisha.com, no deviation from peaceful nuke activities after talking with IAEA. Tehran. Iran's nuclear chief has said that Tehran and the IAEA have discussed and finalized a number of issues at the level of experts and claimed that there had been no deviation from the country's peaceful nuclear activities. There's no discrepancy between the design information questionnaire submitted by Iran to the International Nuclear Watchdog and the layout of centrifuges at Iran's nuclear facilities. Iranian Students News Agency quoted President of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, AEOI, Mohammad Eslami, as saying on the sidelines of a cabinet meeting on Wednesday. Turning to the safeguards issue, Eslami noted that Iran had held talks with the IAEA and provided clarifications as some people were attempting to claim Tehran had not responded to the IAEA, Xinhua News Agency reported. IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi will travel to Iran within the next few days for discussions on certain topics, including the safeguards issues and the closure of the case, he said. Eslami also rejected the claim that Iran has enriched uranium to a level of about 84%. Over the past months, the IAEA has criticized Iran for its lack of cooperation with the agency. On November 17, 2022, the IAEA's Board of Governors passed a resolution proposed by the U.S., Britain, France, and Germany that called on Iran to collaborate with the agency's investigators regarding the alleged traces of uranium at a number of its undeclared sites. Iran has repeatedly rejected such allegations. On February 19th, Bloomberg cited two senior diplomats as claiming that IAEA inspectors in Iran had detected uranium enrichment or enriched to levels just below that needed for a nuclear weapon. On the same day, AEOI spokesman Behrouz Kamalvandi was quoted by RNA as saying that the Bloomberg report was a distortion of the facts and part of a smear campaign. And from Urdu Point, Iran's nuclear authority says IAEA chief will visit this week. Rafael Grossi, the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, will visit Iran in the next 2 days, Atomic Energy Organization of Iran Chief Mohammad Eslami said on Wednesday. Media reported earlier in February that IAEA inspectors in Iran allegedly found uranium enriched to 84%, which is enough to make a weapon. And there was an allegation that we left the IAEA's inquiry without response. We held talks on the issue, and Mr. Grossi will visit Iran at an official invitation within 1 or 2 days, Eslami was quoted by Iranian news agency Mehr as saying. The AEOI has insisted that Iran's nuclear program continues to remain exclusively peaceful. And from Mehr News, disputed issue between Iran IAEA resolved, AEOI chief says. The head of Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, Mohammad Eslami, says that the issues of dispute between Iran and IAEA have been resolved. Referring to the report in which non-compliance of centrifuges on or the presence of particles was declared, Eslami said that the case was resolved after the IAEA inspectors' investigations. The investigations revealed that there was no specific deviation according to the AEOI chief. He said these accusations have been raised for 20 years and the negotiations have turned into the JCPOA document, adding that the reason for signing the JCPOA was such accusations. Referring to the visit of the IAEA chief to the Tehran in the coming days, Mohammad Eslami noted that Rafael Grossi's visit to Iran can help the JCPOA talks process. Islami also rejected the agency's report about the vagueness of Iran's actions and said that such an issue was mentioned in the report. Regarding the IAEA safeguard claims, he cited several meetings to clarify Iran's answers. Iran has presented its answer in several hundred pages, according to him. Elsewhere in his remarks, Islami referred to the report of uranium particles enriched to nearly 84% and stressed that the issue was related to a sampling a single particle that cannot be seen even with a microscope. What's important is the amount of material that's stored after the production, which the IAEA inspectors observed and made sure was not more than 60%, he emphasized. On Tuesday, media sources reported that IAEA is in discussions with Iran on the origin of uranium particles enriched up to 83.7%. The UN nuclear watchdog is in discussions with Iran on the origin of uranium particles enriched up to 83.7% at its Fordo enrichment plant, a report by the watchdog seen by Reuters committed or confirmed on Tuesday. Behrouz Kamalvandi, the spokesman for the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, said in an interview with Mayor Correspondent in Tehran last week, "It's normal to see 84% atomic particles in an enrichment process. It means that we may produce 5% enriched uranium in C11%, or 20% in C37%. The AEOI spokesman remarks were a reaction to the report by Bloomberg a few days earlier that claimed that the IAEA had found uranium enriched to 84% in Iran. All right, make sure you watch this space.
Watch this space. Watch this space.
And we will return in just a moment with more news.